Prices plunge at the fastest rate since 2009. That's according to Forbes on the 1st of September. So what we're going to do is we are going to look through the housing price index. We're going to look at how this affects you and what opportunities and threats there are as a result. So if we look at the house price index, according to Halifax, the average house price is £279,569, which is a difference of just shy of £5,000 from last month. So we're going to look month on month and then we're going to look year on year because you need an aerial view. So month on month, we're basically saying there's about £5,000 difference in average house prices, which confirms what we've said in previous videos where I've predicted that there is a slowing within the market, but not a complete and utter halt and crash. Interesting to note is that if we look at August of 2022 to August of 2023, according to HM Land Registry, there's actually a £16,334 difference. Halifax is saying £13,465. So if you were to take like an average mean of that, we're talking about £15,000 drop. This is all pointing in the right direction for those who are buying within today's market. More of a challenge for those selling. So it's affecting different people in different ways. What the general trend is though, it's a downward trend. So we are seeing property prices drop. So if you're looking at buying properties or your current properties, you're looking to refinance those, what you are going to be seeing is differences to the mortgage rates. So according to Zoopla, mortgage lenders are now requiring new borrowers to be able to afford mortgage stress test rates of close to 8.5%. So 5.6% is a product rate. That's the interest rate at which you are going to borrow the funds. But the mortgage lenders want some sort of buffer in there. They want some security. So they stress test to determine that if interest rates were to move up to the 8.5% mark, affordability is still covered, i.e. we're looking at this as a buy-to-let. The rental amount of coverage covers 8.5%. Many of you maybe even don't understand the stress test process and the ICR, you'll hear it referred to as ICR, which is the internal coverage rate. The internal coverage rate is the rate at which your lenders want to basically have a little bit of skin in the game. They want some scope in there to cover things like voids, maintenance, non-payment of rent or shortfall in rent from your renters. So the internal coverage rate. I looked at this earlier this month. So at the very beginning of September, we looked at some products and there was one which was a 5.26% interest rate, which as you'll know, if you've been watching the market, that's considerably lower than we've seen in recent months. But the stress test on that was 7.09%. And the ICR, the internal coverage rate, is 125%. What does that look like? You borrow a mortgage at £100,000 for argument's sake. You're going to pay 5.26% per year, broken down into your monthly payments. But the mortgage lenders want to see that if your mortgage moved to 7.09%, not only would it be covered by the rental amount, but it would be covered at a ratio of 125%. So they're always testing. But the fact that we're seeing mortgage interest rates drop tells me that there is still a need to loan that money out. So what does this mean for new and existing investors? For new investors, it means there's plenty more products out there on the market for you, and these change not even just daily, they change hour to hour. So speak to your brokers to find the right products. Although the stress tests are there and although the mortgage rates are there are massive opportunities. Halifax are saying the market will continue to rebalance until it finds an equilibrium where buyers are comfortable with mortgage costs in a higher range than the previous 15 years. My mind goes into overdrive here because who's comfortable paying higher interest rates? But it becomes the new normal. Hate the phrase, but it's absolutely true. We got so used to, for over a decade, seeing interest rates at around, 0.25% and slightly above it. What we're seeing now is significantly higher, over 5%. Well, it's not stopping people from investing in property. I'm still investing now. All of the professional property investors that I'm working with are still investing now because we're getting used to this higher interest rate. But what that also means is that rental amounts have increased indirectly proportionately, because actually, although interest rates have shot up, your rental amounts have shot up even higher. So we can still meet the stress tests, we can still get the cash flow, and we've still got the internal coverage rate covered on those. So if we have a little look at some graphs, as we know, interest rates work in cycles, and so does the property market. So if we use the ONS and Hamptons as our source, basically what this is saying is that we're seeing the end of one cycle and the start of the next cycle. There is a predicted low, but what comes after the impending low is an expected high. So if we look at this graph, this is the perfect time for you to start buying properties, buy in the low, I know people say sell in the high, I don't. I say keep in the high, keep forevermore. While rents are still increasing, you're going to get even more cash flow. Okay, I want to give you these affordability figures because they are absolutely bizarre. Currently, it's saying the affordability figures, we're looking at 4.5 times the average salary in the UK. There's no opportunity for that to remain static as it is. So what we're hearing is news that the UK house price earnings ratio has to increase to 6.3 times. What does that mean? Less first-time buyers, less people upsizing, more supply, less demand. More supply, less demand is the perfect storm for investors to start buying. You know, it's really sad for those people who are facing the affordability issues. It does mean that they're potentially forced to stay in rental. It does mean that people are potentially moving to smaller houses than they'd actually like to. I'm a firm believer that we should look for the positives in the negatives, and there is always an upside to it. So the upsides for those people is that they're going to be more of people like you and me, not your average landlord who is getting scared off by Section 24, increased house prices, increased Bank of England base rate, and in turn, increased mortgage rates. People like you and me who are watching the market, then drilling down into your own areas and looking at your specific micro markets in your local area. It means that this increase in the affordability is going to affect rental demand in a positive way. When rental demand increases, rental prices increase, all of which supports you when buying those properties, irrespective of increased mortgage rates and increased affordability and stress test. I think that the opportunity here is huge to create that win-win situation and provide amazing homes for these buyers. These are people who are going to move into your property and never move out. Zoopla is predicting that the average person stays in a property for 8 years, and that's actually due to increase to moving once every 23 years. Well, this means when you put the right tenants into your properties, we couple it with the affordability information just discussed, you're going to be in the position where you can have people move into your property, always pay the rent, always pass affordability, and never move out. You're going to buy properties, rent them out forevermore to amazing tenants. You've got to get the information in the right way though. You're going to buy the right properties in the right areas. You've got to vet your tenants in the right way. Buy to let is so beneficial to you when done the right way, but the education that you get is absolutely vital, because as well as the information you're getting on the generalised market, it's also the things that are current in the market at that point. I'm sure you've seen on the news horrific cases where there was a child who was really ill, hospitalised, and actually passed away as a result of damp and mould in the home. So Forbes law, named after the child who sadly passed away, is the new government legislation in regards to damp. It is a guidance, it is a checklist. If you're a good property investor, there's nothing in there that you wouldn't actually have already known, but you always want to err on the side of the law. You want to make sure that you're adhering to this. Everything, as we know, is ever moving, but you want to make sure you're ahead of the curve, so read that information. The gov.uk website, Forbes law for damp. You'll find a direct link here for your perusal. They always end with predictions, and as we know, these are my predictions. They might be completely right or they could be way off kilter. We've done all right so far. So as we know, the Bank of England's next meeting is scheduled for the 21st of September. In previous videos, you will have heard me saying that I believe that we're going to have a minimum of 1, possibly 2 more Bank of England base rate increases. Again, we've already looked that this isn't massively affecting the swap rates and in turn the mortgage interest rates. It's all going to be published on the 21st of September. My prediction is that we are going to see an increase, at least 1. We've heard a lot of people saying they believe there's going to be a slightly bigger increase in just 1 rather than my predicted 2. Homeowners and landlords who are negatively affected by variable interest rates, it's just another nail in the coffin. It's just another challenge for them to overcome. So I think we're going to see even more properties coming to the market after the 21st of September. We couple that with affordability, stress test issues. This is a fabulous opportunity for very well educated property investors. And that leads me nicely to let you know that we are always looking to educate you further. The co-founder of Progressive Property, Mark Homer, who is the epitome of knowledge when it comes to property investing, created a report, downloadable report that you can access, which is top tips on how to invest in property, the things that you should be doing and the things to avoid. Now, if you're enjoying what you're hearing here, you always want to be notified when we're doing these updates on a regular basis. Things change and move fast in the market. So like, subscribe and hit the notifications bell, and I will see you next time.